Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean in the Extreme Weather Center. JD, one of the things about this storm, we haven't seen one like this strong in a long time.
We haven't seen a storm like this ever when it comes to all of the threats that we're going to be dealing with. Not only the storm surge of upwards 9 to 12 feet on top of dry land, the fact that we're going to see hurricane force winds, major hurricane force winds when it makes landfall overnight tonight. The flooding is going to be the unprecedented side of this storm system. Category 2 right now, it's on the high end of a Cat 2, 1 mile per hour shy of a Cat 3, and we think we're going to get there in the next couple of hours. Regardless, we're going to be dealing with very strong winds, a tornado threat certainly through the evening and the overnight hours, and the fact that this storm is going to stall is going to make the impacts even more dire, life-threatening, catastrophic, disaster. Those are the types of terms that the National Hurricane Center is using, because when we're talking about flood totals of 35 to 40 inches in the next several days, that is going to be devastating for these areas. So watching the impact overnight tonight as a hurricane, Category 3 major hurricane. We haven't had one of those in 12 years hit mainland USA. And then watch this model. This is the European model as it moves offshore again, feeding onto the Gulf of Mexico moisture and perhaps strengthening as it goes back into the Gulf of Mexico, lingers for several days, and then perhaps making a second landfall. So Louisiana, we're going to be watching you as well. But right now, Texas, Southeast Texas, you are taking the bullseye for the epic amounts of rainfall we're about to receive. And that's why you're seeing those messages of get out while you can. If you've been told to evacuate, do so. And this is the steering that we've got. We've got high pressure across Florida, high pressure across the southwest. Two of these are battling it out. This one coming on top of the storm Harvey, and that's why it's not going to budge for days. And that's why we are dealing with this historic storm, Leland and Shannon. We get a new advisory out at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and that'll give us the positioning of the storm, the strength of it, you know, the exact location, the exact area where it's going to stall out is still yet to be determined. But what we can tell you is if we have a storm that's center is off the Gulf of Mexico, it still has the potential to bring hurricane force effects for days along this area. So something we have never seen in meteorological history.
Yeah, so it's something for a storm to sit there like that for so long, and as so many people are talking about the rain. For anyone, 3 feet of rain sounds like a lot, but that's not just 3 feet on the ground. What does 3 feet mean in terms of flash flooding? How quickly can things go from relatively okay to extraordinarily dangerous?
I mean, this is going to be a days-long event, and we're also talking about potentially life-threatening storm surge. That is the wall of water that the counterclockwise winds, that mound of water that will be pushed inland. And in some cases, we're dealing with 6 to 12-foot storm surge on top of dry land, and some of these areas are below sea level. So if you think of 12 feet, I mean, that's above some buildings. That is going to completely inundate an area. That's the storm surge part of it, and that's the threat from the hurricane. Once the hurricane weakens a little bit, we're still going to be dealing with this storm system off the shore. You can see these are the computer models, so we're all in good agreement that it's going to make landfall or come close to making landfall in the next 12 to 24 hours. After that, though, it's going to linger because we have these very weak steering currents in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You know, typically a lot of these storms, you'll see a cold front or a trough that will come down. The jet stream is up here, so it's got nothing to pick it up and move it northeastward. And that's why we've got this, you know, unprecedented scenario of a storm off the coast, going onshore, going offshore. With these warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, you need that fuel for a hurricane to stay intact. And that's why we're nervous that if the center stays offshore, this is going to be a prolonged event of battering waves, battering winds, storm surge, and feet of rainfall.
Wow. Plus tornadoes we always worry about as well. Janice Dean in the Extreme Weather Center. New advisory 55 minutes from now. We'll wait for that. Thanks, JD.
Okay.